Good afternoon, everybody. It's May 1st, 2024. It is 5:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Community Preservation Act Committee. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access Channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. And we'll start right off. Laura, we'll start right off with the discussion on the five-year plan. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Share my screen here. Okay, so this is the first time you've had a chance to see the complete draft of the Community Preservation Plan all together with all the pieces there. So tonight I'd like to review your initial impressions of that. I realize you may need a little more time to digest. So if there's any comments that, happy to take your feedback tonight, but also want to offer that any feedback that you think of after tonight's meeting, if you just want to put that in writing to Stacy, maybe she could consolidate that for us and send it our way for the next round of revisions, like within a week. I also want to go through some of the eligibility flowcharts that we've created for you, which is kind of a new thing that you haven't had before, and go through an evaluation rubric, which you did have before. We just put it in a new font pretty much, and then also made a little scoring template for you, which is more of an internal working Excel document that you can use, and go through next steps. So any questions on the agenda so far?
Nope.
All right, so with that, I will stop sharing the screen and pull up the actual plan. Find the right window here. Okay. And sorry, I have too many windows open. There we go. Okay. Move this over just so I can see it on my own screen. Sorry, I'm like juggling things. There we go. All right. Can everybody see and hear the screen? Okay. All right. So first draft, we start with an executive summary. We have some background information, go into your values, policies, and principles, and then we break it down into each of the topic areas, and we end with some acronyms and key definitions. All right, so we've got our acknowledgements there, photograph credits, and the executive summary, which, we updated how much you've collected, and we put in a little diagram of the process. We have a photograph here from the forum. We've done a summary, a really high-level summary of some community engagement figures, but in the appendix we have a full breakdown of summaries of each of those engagement methods, with all the transcriptions and everything. We have your core values here. And we do mention here, I think it came up last time, of wanting to include reference to ongoing community engagement and education. So we have a sentence here which, highlights that. We've got your guiding principles here, which we now have 5 rather than 6, because we consolidated the last 2 kind of into one. And we made all this, the same size and so forth. And we mentioned, no order or priority here. So we have the descriptions here of those 5 guiding principles. And for the executive summary, these are all just, a list pretty much of all the different goals in a line. And then we get into the overview chapter. So any comments so far on executive summary?
Laura, I'd like to go back to a few things at the beginning there, please.
Yep.
Under the listing of the members of the committee, I'd like the information added to what they represent, what they're representing on the different committees that they're on. And I'd like to have have them in alphabetical order. The information after each name as to what they're representing on the committee.
But put the names in alphabetical order.
Yeah, the names are in alphabetical order, yeah.
I had a question, it sort of starts in the very beginning.
Go ahead.
It talks about the Community Preservation Act Committee, but according to our charter, we're the Community Preservation Committee. There's no act in the name of our organization. So I think throughout the whole document, unless, Paul, you say I'm wrong, but I went back and looked at our charter, we're the Community Preservation Committee. So you need to get the act out.
Mary.
Would you like, do you have a question, Carolyn?
Yes. I get confused because you have the Capital Projects Committee.
Yes, yeah,
CPC,
CPC.
and you don't want to distinguish CPAC from committee?
You're talking about the capital projects committee that the town has for the various, well, no, we've had them for a long time. Yeah. And you're talking about using the CPC because of for this as compared to the CPC for the capital projects committee.
Yeah, it's referred to both ways on the website, so thank you for that clarification. On the website, it says Community Preservation Act Committee, but it also says Community Preservation Committee. So, yeah, and it's, however you would prefer it, or if it's the charter, then that makes sense to put that.
Well, I think we should go based on what's on the actual charter itself, but I don't know what Paul's thoughts are.
Fine, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
So that would be the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay.
I think when I've been on the website, town website, it's Community Preservation Committee under the boards and commissions.
And on page, oh, no, never mind, I'm ahead into the next chapter. Just a point of clarification, Mary.
Yeah, you want to just move that up so everybody can
Oh,
listen?
Point of
Thanks.
clarification. Are we reviewing this as a draft, or are we reviewing this with the intent to approve it today?
I would review it as a draft.
And then we'll review it again?
Yeah, because if we have changes or plans, then we would expect those to be included into the draft. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. Did you have something in the front part?
Not in the executive summary, no.
Okay. So, we're talking about the listing of the committee and just showing their, in alphabetical order, and their, what they're representing as far as, the Recreation Commission and so forth. And I think that should be on there. What do people think?
Yes.
Mary, Joanna has a question. She has her hand
Oh,
up.
thanks, Stacy. Joanna, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to, okay, unmute. Yeah, I'm no longer clerk because we have Stacy, so, and I was thinking we could email changes, but Laura, I don't have your email. So I'm just a member, I'm not the clerk.
No, the board, the committee, all the committees have to have a clerk.
Okay, then I'll be the clerk. Thank you.
Just some committees, it's more ceremonial than others.
Oh, okay, fine. And I'm the Open Space Committee rep. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Ceremonial clerk, thank you.
We won't put in ceremonial in the draft.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're in.
Janet has a question.
Oh, thanks. Where do you see Janet?
The very top.
Janet.
In the middle?
Oh, on the top there. Yeah, I even have my right glasses on and I don't even see it. Janet, do you have your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Yes, it's, I don't know whether it might have been listed somewhere, but you say you had 212 responses, and of those, 168 were full or part-time residents. I was curious, do you know what the other people were?
Yeah,
Were they tourists or from another town or?
I would have to look at the full breakdown from that forum, but yeah, they would be non-residents, but probably might be an employee, or maybe they're visiting, but we do ask that question, so I can get back to you on that. It should be in the forum summary.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a couple of other comments. I'm on the executive summary, and I'm in the first page, page 7. And I have, I think it's the fourth paragraph down, I have that we had more initiatives in the first, between 2006 and 2024 than you show. I have that we had 104 versus 94.
Okay.
And I also question, I don't like the end of that second last sentence where you have, and plans and studies. It's too nebulous from my perspective. You have these initiatives included capital improvements, assistance programs, land acquisition, and plans and studies. That's,
Yeah,
doesn't-
I think we break that down a little bit in more detail in chapter 1. So we're trying to be pretty concise here, but if you want, we can try to add a little more description to that.
yeah.
And I believe we can double check that number. I believe we're just counting from what's documented on the Community Preservation Coalition site, but I want to make sure that that number did get updated correctly.
Yeah, I have that number through 2023.
Okay.
Let me see. I had something else on this page. Let's see, housing programs, page 7. Looking to see, I thought I marked it, but I don't see it now. I'll forget it right now because I don't see what I was referring to, other than plans and studies there. Any other questions on the executive summary? Oh, hi, Tina.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
I have some comments on the core values on page 8. They don't agree with the core values that we show later on page, I think it's page 20.
Okay.
No, not page 20. It's another page.
Oh, yeah, whatever it is in chapter 1.
I'm looking to see. Collaborative regional project, yeah.
Maybe it's chapter 2.
Let me see, where did I have that?
That's chapter 1. Might be chapter 2. There it is. Yeah, chapter 2. Yes, it's in a
Yeah,
different.
page 23.
In a different order, right.
Yeah, you have the core values on page 23, and they don't match the core values on page 8.
I think let's see, the ones up here are the originals, and then I want to say we might have reordered them for some reason. I think we were playing around with the idea of trying to make an acronym out of them, but then put that idea aside because we couldn't get one that really worked. So we'll just make sure that we match them.
Yeah, wherever we show core values, I think they should agree.
Yes.
And the words are different.
Yeah, the
And
words,
we'll match the original.
The words aren't the same either.
previous plan. Yeah, again, I think we were batting around the idea of internally with trying to make an acronym out of it. And then, so we were playing with synonyms and things of the words and forgot that we did that and didn't mention that to you. So yes, we'll keep the original and make sure they match.
yeah, okay. Let's see, what else did I have? Page 9, principles. On page 9, where you've, under the principles, under the leveraging, shouldn't we say under 3, the CPAC, well, we're CPC, encourages leveraging CPA funds?
Yes, does seem to be a missing word.
Yeah, yeah. And down under 4, the CPAC prioritized projects demonstrating comprehensive planning compatibility, town's current strategic, the local plans, and community initiatives and goals. I'd like to put in the word and, or add rather, and goals.
I see there's an extra CPAC floating there too.
Right.
And then you've got just at the end of number 4, I think that's just a typo, CPAC, just sitting there by itself.
Right.
Yes.
And I have another question, and I'm not sure that it belongs under item 5, under collaborative projects, but I think that we should be saying something in here about regional projects. And by that I mean not just projects in Eastham, but projects that we support, and we have supported both in Wellfleet, and we're supporting them in Orleans and Brewster. And I think something should be in here regarding regional projects.
Just take out multiple and just say regional.
You know,
Well, no, I think that's a different concept. Multiple means crossing.
yeah, right.
Multiple areas.
Recreation and housing, say, or
But
something.
would we, this is being used to set up priorities. So would we give priority over a project that was regional versus one that was just Eastham? I'm not sure that I would agree with that.
I'm sorry, phrase that again.
This listing of the 5 items here.
Yeah, the principles.
Principles, right, are what's going to guide us in our evaluation and criteria for prioritizing. And I'm not sure I would agree that we would prioritize a regional project over a not regional project. In other words, if we had 2 projects that were similar and one was a collaboration with Orleans or Wellfleet or some other town, and one was just in Eastham, I'm not sure I would agree with giving priority to the regional one
Oh,
over
no,
the
I wouldn't
Eastham
give
one.
priority. I'm just saying that I think that we should make it we should put in here that we understand that in order, especially with housing, from my perspective, if we're going to provide the housing that I think this region needs, it's going to have to be done on a regional basis. It can't just be done by Eastham itself, so.
I don't agree with that, but these priorities apply
So-
to all projects. So if we had an active recreation project, a
Skateboard
skateboard
in Orleans.
was one, but I'm talking about the prioritization, if the time would be where we have to prioritize one project over another, would we prioritize a regional project versus an Eastham project?
I don't think so. but
I don't
this
think
is-
so.
I mean, this is priorities for the committee, but it's also an informational tool. So, I mean, letting folks know that this is something that we do cooperatively. For instance, housing and recreation, active recreation. And
That-
anything
I agree
else,
with that.
That comes up. So, I mean, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to say to future committees that
We prioritize
yeah, I
Eastham
mean,
over.
or that other communities get funding ahead of Eastham. I mean, as you, in your example,
Right.
if it's two like things, I don't doubt that any future committee won't prioritize Eastham.
No, it just, I agree in principle, obviously, with housing, it's critically important. I just don't think it's one of our guiding principles. I think it's what we do and are willing to approve. I'm just not sure that I think it's a principle.
Well, as I said, I think, from my perspective, that in order, as I said before, and I think we all agree, housing is probably the most important priority right now. And the only way we're going to provide that housing for everybody that needs it is to work collaboratively with all the towns, as we're doing.
I agree.
And other towns have done the same thing with us, as far as the Village Green is concerned. And so I'm just saying I'm not saying that we should send a lot of money to Brewster if we have something in town here that we want to
Right.
support.
And I
But-
think multiple really doesn't have to be there. We've only got, the categories that are approved. So it's CPA funding categories.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So is there any reference to regional programs that you would like me to add into the guiding principles anywhere, or are we leaving it as is?
Up to you. You're the chair.
Specific principle, specific projects?
No, you want specific language
Oh.
under
Yeah,
number
so
five.
But
what I'm
I thought
wondering
you
is-
wanted some specific projects to be noted in the, is that what you wanted, the names of them, or just the verbiage to put in something regarding regional projects?
Just the
I'm-
wording.
Yes, I'm just wondering if I'm leaving this as is, or if I'm saying this could be local and regional projects, but it still needs to be more than one CPA area, or if we just talk about local and regional projects sort of in a more general way somewhere else. Since it sounds like that you're all in agreement that a collaborative project that's regional wouldn't take priority, like a collaborative project that's regional, but only one topic area wouldn't necessarily take priority over a single topic that's just a local project.
Yeah, I like the verbiage that you used a minute ago, local and regional.
Local or regional, but it still like has to be more than one eligible topic area. That's how we're defining collaborative projects right now.
Regional activities and CPA categories such as,
I'm sorry?
I'm talking to myself, I'm sorry. Reading is aloud, so I'd say eligible activities in CPA categories such as affordable housing, community housing, active and passive recreation.
Yeah,
Locally and
any
in-
topic.
Locally and congruent, locally and in,
Regional,
yeah.
it's local
I
and regional.
don't particularly want to fund anything in Falmouth, but I,
Yeah, I guess my
nearby
question is
communities.
that is
Well,
allowed.
that's our decision as
Yeah.
to whether we
Yeah, well,
support
and it's
something.
allowed no matter what the project is, right? It doesn't, So I'm wondering if it's even needed, because it seems like something that would apply no matter what it would apply if it's a lead priority project or a supporting priority project, if it's regional or local, like it's allowed. Is it something that you want to give extra emphasis to? And if so, you know, which one, where to put it?
Yeah. Um, I think it should, I don't know. Maybe it would go under number 4, planning and community goals. I don't,
Well,
don't know.
if you really want it in, I think it belongs under number 3. Regionalism is a form of leveraging. So by putting our dollars leveraged with the dollars from other towns.
Yeah, that works too. What are people's thoughts?
Well, it could actually be 5 too, because it's
Yeah, yeah.
collaborative, because
yeah.
we're doing it with another.
With another town, yeah,
Either way.
yeah,
Kind of like semantics here.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
maybe,
mean, we could put it in, I think it needs to be there under some
Right.
one thing.
Yeah.
So either you put it in 3 or you put it in 5.
Yeah, yeah,
so why
yeah.
don't we let Laura, she's heard the discussion, let her come up with
Work out some language.
and put something in number 5,
Yeah.
and let's move on. Sorry.
Did you hear what Carolyn just said, Laura? That, I think what we'd like is some verbiage on the issue to be added in principle number 5.
Okay, so not in number 3.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Or number 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Harry?
Who is that?
Dan?
Dan? Oh, hi, Dan.
Hello. Wrestling with this. I'm not sure the Eastham residents would agree to fund active recreation in any other town, quite honestly.
Well, Dan.
And
just-
so,
Oh, go ahead.
so the problem is you're putting all of the categories that are available for funding, lumping them together and saying there may be regional solutions for all of those categories. For example, open space wouldn't necessarily apply to another town. Active recreation may not apply to another town. I think what we're really focusing on is affordable housing.
Right.
I'm just wrestling with the idea that we're printing a document that says we might support regional things that aren't necessarily regional for Eastham, so I don't know. That's my
Didn't we,
concern.
Dan, didn't we already do that with the funding for the skateboard park in Orleans?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we did it. I'm not saying we don't do it. I'm just concerned that if another town sees this, well, we could say no,
Yeah,
but they
we
might.
have the ability to always say no.
Say no.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wrestling with it myself. Never mind. I don't know how to solve it, so I don't have a
Yeah,
solution.
We'll leave it up to Laura.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to you, Laura, to work the magic with the words.
Okay.
Okay, now we're on to the chapter overview?
I think so. I mean, these are just the list of goals. So now we're on to the overview chapter, yes.
On page 14, where it says who decides, you left out a couple of the CPC required members. There's the Affordable Housing Trust and the Open Space Committee.
And we also have members at large.
Now, I'm an at-large.
And so am I.
I know.
I'm wondering
So-
if this is just referring sort of to statute language and then you have your own structure. So it does make sense to list your, your structure.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
because it's talking about the 9 members.
Yes.
And on the same page, I'm still on page 14, the next section, the role of the CP, again, that's going to be changed. The CPC is to, number 1, study, and then I would take out, in number 2, I would take out the word to, because I think it should be study and make, not to make. Study and make. And then under the 4th 5-year plan adopted, first sentence, you've got the adopted a 4th 5-year community preservation plan for fiscal year, should be 2020 through 2024. Because we're working on
Oh,
it.
well, yeah, this is sort of, it's updated because the last plan had, with the third 5-year preservation plan was the one that you just concluded. So this, you're right, you haven't adopted it yet, but this is meant to be the one that is this one adopted
Oh,
this
so-
time.
Okay.
So maybe we put in a draft, you know, in, and then a placeholder date. You know, it's sort of anticipated June 2024, or maybe we say adopted this 4th 5-year,
Okay.
something like that, clarify that. I can see how that's confusing.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. On page 16, where you have the pie chart, I have the information here, and I have different percentages than you have.
Okay.
I
We can
have-
send you our workbooks that we use to calculate this. And you can take a look and compare, because I think there were some that were, you know, we made some assumptions, like these definitely were projects, these were, you know, some projects happened and some didn't necessarily happen, and I think we broke it down. And I think this number has to get updated too. This 94, or at least double checked.
Because I have, based on the most up-to-date information, I have 34% for open space, 11% for active recreation, 38% community housing, and 17% for the historic preservation.
I'm sorry, how much for community housing?
38%.
Maybe
38.
if she sends you her list, you can compare and figure out.
Yeah, I
what
have.
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
the
Okay.
list here.
Send the list for data.
So you can compare the two, Mary, and see where the difference
Yeah.
is.
And see. Okay, yep, and historic preservation, you had what percentage?
I'm sorry?
What percentage did you have for historic preservation?
17.
Okay. Oh, there we go, okay. And then that language may have to be updated as well. Right, any other comments on this page?
So that would change the information that you have down below, where you talk about the percentages.
Yes, yep, that may have to be
Change the
updated as well.
verbiage to agree with the pie chart.
Yep.
Any other comments from anybody on pages 16, 17.
Under active recreation on the page, the Sandy Meadow interpretive program is open space, passive recreation.
That's on page 17.
Okay.
Any other comments from folks on
Yeah.
page 17?
Yeah, I think the
Joanna?
Moby, this is, I don't think it's critical, but the Moby mats at Bees River were from active recreation, although it's, I don't
Yeah,
think
it
it,
is active. It was
Yeah.
submitted under active recreation.
yeah, the Moby mats.
So
I'm
that
just
should
looking-
be moved over to under active recreation.
And, well, Wiley Park Bridge and trails, again, that's where it's sort of, we overlap. Passive recreation is usually trails. But I'm not sure who paid for the bridge and trails at Wiley Park. I don't think it was open space. But again, it sort of shows how we can,
Collaborate.
collaborate, exactly. So, but that may be where the pie charts get a little, funny. But I think getting them pretty close is you're doing great.
Any other comments from folks on page 17, the funded projects listing? Okay, we're on to page 18. And on page 18, I think that in the first paragraph, you talk about the various programs and so forth that you've reviewed, but I don't see the strategic plan listed.
We have the comprehensive plan. Is the strategic plan is a different one you're
Different,
referring to?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
mhm.
I seem to, when I go back in the filing cabinet in my brain, that's ringing a bell. So I believe we do have that. I'll go back and double check and make sure it gets in here.
Oops. Get this off here. It's driving me crazy. Okay, we're on to page 19. Any comments from folks on page 19? On to, we lost Dave. On to page 20. I have a question on page 20, and in an assortment of places, sometimes we talk about the Historical Commission, and other times we talk about the Preservation Commission. And I see that in different places throughout the draft. Is it, and I don't know the answer to my question, is it the Preservation Commission or is it the Historical Commission?
I think it should be the Historical Commission.
Probably,
I'm sorry?
probably should be Historical Commission.
Yes.
Where do you see?
Because we have that on the
Page 20 in the middle.
page 20 in the middle. Well, it's the second dot point down
For historic preservation.
under the 4 general project types.
It
Yeah, we
refers
refer to
to
the Historical
Is
Commission
it the
here.
Historic District Commission?
No, it just says Historical
Should-
Commission.
It's Historic Commission. Historic.
Yeah.
historic, no AL.
Yes.
What's the difference between the Historic Commission and the Preservation Commission?
I think that might just be a typo. I didn't realize there was the words Preservation Commission elsewhere in the document.
Because I'm looking at the qualifying historic projects for CPA funding. It's the outline of what to follow. You know, if it's this, it's no. If it's this, it's yes.
Oh, the flow charts?
Flow chart, and that has the Preservation Commission
Yes,
decided.
yes,
Let's
that's,
review that when we
that
get
should be
there.
Historic Commission, yeah,
Yeah,
that
so-
should be corrected, yep,
So I think we have to be consistent.
yes.
It's either the Historic Commission or the so I think every place that you have Preservation Commission should be Historic Commission. Is
Yep,
that, am I correct about that?
Yes.
Yes,
And that's true on the flow chart. The flow chart has Preservation Commission.
yes, should be,
It should be
Historic.
Historic Commission. Okay. All righty,
On page 21,
page 21.
in the step-by-step,
Oops.
I think that step 5, it just should be by May, not May 2024.
oh, good point, yeah.
You're taking out the,
Right, because it should apply to every year, not just this year.
yeah, you're just taking out 2024. Good catch.
So Stacy and I were talking about the schedule, and we thought it made sense, so rather than have like these dates, because the dates obviously change in the day, that we could refer to it as, you know, the annual deadline would be
The last Wednesday.
the last Wednesday
In October.
of October, and then you know, just refer to it like that, rather than the dates, because then,
Oh, okay.
because, you know, obviously sometimes the
Yeah, that
15th
makes
is going to be on a
sense.
Saturday or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then it'll just be easier to keep that schedule, so.
So when you, so if you're starting at the top, well, the first one says pre-application is by September 1. Do you want to put it, leave?
Yeah, so I think we had said the first, it would be by we were going by the CPA meetings. So the first Wednesday of
First Wednesday of September.
the last Wednesday of,
Yep. So first
October.
Wednesday,
I would make it the first Tuesday, so
Yeah.
you have Wednesday to
yeah.
get it ready.
so we're saying, I'm looking at the application review process on page 21. Step 1 is by the first Wednesday of September.
First Tuesday.
I would say
Oh, first
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Of course, that's taken into consideration that we never changed the date for 5 years, Wednesdays.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can update if that changes, but
We have it
And
here.
would this be then the last Tuesday in October?
No, I think the last Wednesday is okay. That gives a week till the next meeting, to the October meeting, I mean, the November meeting.
right.
So for step 2, we're saying last Wednesday in October? Is that what we're,
No, step
No,
3.
I think step 2 can stay September to October.
okay, we'll leave that September and October.
Yep.
Then for step 3, we're going to be saying
Last Wednesday.
last Wednesday in October. And then for step 4, do we want to move that from, say, November to February versus January? I don't know.
It's up to you. It says approximately. Every year's a little different, depending on what we have.
Because this year we were doing things in February.
Well, leave it then February, just
Yeah, yeah. So step 4, we're recommending November to February. Step 5, we're just leaving it, first,
May.
is that the last Wednesday? No, the first Wednesday in May, or?
That's by the town meeting.
Yeah, but it changes
So the
every year.
change, the
Oh,
date
oh,
changes.
that's right, that's right.
So I would just say
You're
May.
you're correct about that. So it's just by May. Well, because that could change too. We've had town meetings in September, but
Yeah, I would just say May.
we'll leave it just in by May. And then step 6 is after, just say after July? Not July 1, after July?
Didn't we say you could start the project as soon as it was approved in town meeting?
Yes, you can.
So now, so then that date, July 1st, is wrong. It'd be May.
That's the fiscal year, though. So that's what Tina would, I think, or Paul, don't you think? That's what that is. The funding can be released.
The fund-
July 1st is the first
funds are
day of the
available for
fiscal
July,
year.
right?
The funds, sorry, the funds are available right after town meeting. And
Right,
remember,
right.
who did we do that $50,000?
Right, to ECF. I
Yes,
should have
yes, that's right.
That made a difference for them, so I think it's
Okay.
important to let people know they don't have to wait till July.
So do we put down after town meeting?
Yes,
Yes. Thanks, Tina.
you're welcome.
And I think in there, in that last one, there needs to be a called-out bullet that says that a contract is signed.
Say that again, Carolyn.
It says, I think the very first bullet under that should be to sign a funding agreement. We can't do anything until that's done, or a contract, whichever.
In that first bullet point under
Step-
step 6?
Yes, to sign the contract.
Project funds are available according to the terms of
Of the contract?
executed funding agreement.
Right, or something, but it needs to.
Well, it says, or per the terms of the, so why don't we just,
Well, executed means it's signed,
Yeah,
fully
yeah,
executed,
yeah.
is signed by both parties.
Yeah,
available, so how would you phrase that, Eileen?
Available according to the terms of the fully executed funding agreement. Can't have it until they sign off.
According to the fully, say that again?
According to the terms
According to the terms,
of the fully
Fully-
executed.
fully executed. Funding agreement?
Yep.
Did you hear that, Laura?
I think so.
Yeah.
I have, if the town meeting approved project funding, then project funds are available per
Accor-
the terms, or subject to the terms of the fully executed funding agreement.
Yeah,
bingo,
go ahead.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question on step 6. I believe in the past, we funded certain projects where a CPA sign was not required for political reasons, like affordable housing and an individual house or something. Didn't we approve projects that where we said we were not going to require a sign?
Yeah, and maybe may be required, because you can't have it at affordable housing,
I would just take
Right.
that one out.
or just,
I would just take it out, because the signage is covered in the contract with the
Okay.
conditions.
Okay.
We always
Yeah.
assign the ones that need a sign, assign the ones that need a sign.
good catch, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
So does Laura, did Laura hear what you said and what your,
Yes, I think so. I'll just take that last bullet off of step 6.
okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm on to page 22. And I know we've had some issues with this before, because it's not really what we use, but you're saying that this is sort of what the requirements are.
Yes, this is just the statutory
That's
minimum.
the 10, 10, 10, and, yeah, okay.
Yep. And then it says see chapter 2 for your policy.
Wouldn't it be better to put this, that's on page 22, into chapter 2? I think it's confusing having it here sort of by itself, unexplained with everything else, with the other context. I would just take this whole page 22 out, because two pages later, we talk about it.
Okay.
I don't know what anyone else thinks, but
No, I think it is confusing, because we don't follow these guidelines,
right.
as noted on this piece of paper.
Because we meet the state requirements.
Right.
But we go
We have
beyond
we
that.
have some options.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're now on to 23. And I have some concerns on page 23 regarding the last paragraph. I think it's confusing. We're talking about the undesignated funds. Average over 5 years. And it makes it look like 30.
I think,
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like this first sentence under undesignated funds should actually go up above it to talking about your minimum spending
Reserves.
reserves,
Right.
and then underneath it should just say the remaining 35%.
Right.
Yes.
It's very, you're talking about reserves under undesignated
Right.
reserves.
And in that same, under minimum spending, the second sentence, open space and active rec will each have a separate reserve, not two separate reserves. They don't each have two. They will each have a reserve, or each will have a separate reserve.
Where are you, Carolyn?
Under minimum spending, the second sentence, open space and active rec will have two separate reserves. They're not going to each have two, they're each going to have a separate reserve.
Where, when you say,
Page 23.
yeah, on what part?
Under minimum spending,
Oh, you're up under minimum, okay, I'm sorry, I was looking under undesignated.
under minimum.
Sorry.
So instead of thus, open space and active recreation will have two separate reserves. We'll say thus, open space and active recreation will each have a separate reserve.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments? And we have also already mentioned the fact that under the core values up at the top of the page there, need to agree. These need to be the same as it was shown earlier.
Yes.
Yep. we're on to page 24. Yeah, I don't have any comments on page 24. If, on on page 24, I guess my only comment would be at the top there where you have active recreation, you can't, it's a little clearer in that picture. In the pie chart here, you can't really read the recreation, the word recreation under active at the top. If you could move it out of the pie chart, like you've got the others. Okay, 23, 24. 25, page 25.
Probably just update that number 5 to match the executive summary.
Right. I have a couple comments under item 4, leveraging. I would end it with, in bargain sales, I don't like the words "and the like."
Right.
We probably corrected it in the executive summary and then didn't follow it down here, so we'll match the executive.
Once she does the other correction, she'll just cut and paste it here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Let me see. And this is where I was wondering, under item 3, planning and community goals, will prioritize projects demonstrating comprehensive planning and compatibility with other community initiatives and goals. I was wondering whether that should have something in there, including regional projects.
Well, Mary, I think
Go ahead.
I think what she'll do is fix what we talked about and then paste that here.
Yep,
So it
and-
matches
and
exactly.
To match up with the earlier
Right.
verbiage. Are there any other comments on page 25? 26, community housing. Sorry?
That's a pretty picture.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Village Green. Yeah. Let me see. 27, page 27. I have different, at the top, I have different census numbers than you show. I had, in 2010, we had like 4,950 was the census, and in 2020 was 5,700, and you've got continued to decline. That really isn't true.
I'm sorry, where
Where are you?
are you?
Goal number 1, first sentence at the top of page 27.
There are no numbers.
I know, but she says has continued to decline.
The population has.
Right.
That's
Which
that's
is-
not true.
Yes, I went back and looked, and it is true.
Because the 2010 census had us at 4,950, about 49, and the 2020 census we just had had us at 5,700.
Right.
So that's not a decline.
We had one aberrant year, but I think the rest of the years, well, I don't know.
Well, if you could just check that to see whether
Yeah.
that
What
is,
if we said
True or not?
continues to generally decline?
any other questions, comments on page 27? And on to 28.
Under goal 3, the first sentence, instead of calling it Campbell Purcell, I would call it Village at Nauset Green. And
That's probably a couple of places in this.
I only saw it
is.
once.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's elsewhere, but
It's-
it should
it
always
is.
be Village at Nauset Green. And under 4, the second paragraph, I'm not really sure why that paragraph is there. We get legal counsel on a lot of items, and I don't know why we're calling out this one particular item as having had legal opinion. I would just take that paragraph out.
So, I'm sorry, where are you now, Carolyn?
Goal 4,
I'm
second,
looking at 4. yeah.
second paragraph.
Yeah, I'm looking there.
Town
Oh,
council.
East Ham's Town Council,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know what purpose that paragraph serves. Because we get,
I think in the state community preservation coalition, material, I think there's discussion about that, because that was an issue that had to be clarified in the
Okay.
past. So it might have just been somewhere coming out of that. But I
Yeah.
agree. I don't think it needs to be.
I think it'll be confusing to the general reader to have that one thing called
Yeah,
out here.
It's because when you read the statute, it's like the language is about like creating housing.
Right,
and
right.
We had to clarify at some point that these support programs
Right.
also were appropriate.
And we did,
Yeah.
right, but,
I mean, not statewide, they did that.
right. Yeah.
So that first sentence comes out?
I
Is that what
think,
you're saying, Paul?
I think the whole.
The whole paragraph.
I agree with
Paragraph.
Carolyn's
Okay.
comment, the whole section.
That whole
section
paragraph,
doesn't-
right.
I don't know, that sentence, that second sentence is useful. I mean, if you're using this as a teaching tool,
Okay. Then, and then just take out the first paragraph, the first sentence. I'm fine either way. Any other comments on page 28? On 29, page 29. I just have one comment on 29 where we talk about AMI. The problem is it changes every year. If this is a 5-year plan, having the actual numbers in for 1 year, you know, in year 3, somebody's going to read this and think that that's the same number, the existing numbers.
so how you would say, refer to, the source of that
Yeah,
in each of these then?
I would think,
Yeah, we say these income limits are updated annually and can be assessed at, this link.
right.
But I understand the point of, do we want to provide it as a one-year example, or is that just gonna come back to bite you later? Do we just refer to the source?
You always name the source.
Well, she does, the source is listed. Yeah.
But
the
I mean,
source, yeah.
to update, to get the updated information, you
Yeah.
refer to the source.
So are we asking them to take this little graph out? Or are we putting something in there saying as of some date or the information regarding the fact that there's a source that you can go to find the information?
I mean, you could put like, for instance, in 19 or 2020, whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah.
one person is whatever, but this needs to be updated annually.
Yeah, so right now it reads, the following matrix includes fiscal year 2023 income
It
limits
says that.
Yeah,
for one-person and four-person households for 80% and 100% of the area median income established by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. These income limits are updated annually and can be assessed at
Yeah,
this
yeah.
website. And then in the link underneath the chart, it gives the source and the link to the,
Maybe on the chart itself, under where it says 80% AMI, just put parentheses fiscal year 2023
yeah.
and 100% fiscal year, just so it's really clear, picture's worth a
Yeah.
1,000 words. Somebody's going to take a snapshot of that and say, oh, that's what it is.
Yep.
And we don't want them to do that.
Anything else from folks on page 29?
Yeah, Mary, in the chart, it says acquire, create, preserve, those seem to be, and rehabilitate. What I don't see is, what is support?
You mean?
I'm looking at the chart.
You're saying you don't see any verbiage associated with the word support?
Yeah, in other words, in the chart, there's a word that says support. And I don't know what, as a layman reading this thing, what is support?
So it says here on page 30,
Oh, okay.
it talks about that, but actually, it had been a discussion with Paul and Stacy at our check-in meeting that it would be helpful to also create a little, I don't know, we call it an FAQ, a cheat sheet, a 101 document, something that we can cross-reference with the Community Preservation Coalition information to give just some general examples of kind of eligible, ineligible things. I mean, we do it a bit here, but,
Well, I
as
guess,
you said, it can get confusing, what these different things mean.
I wouldn't have any problem if you said in the chart, support as defined on page 30. I just don't know when somebody's reading the chart, if they'll know what support means. I think it's logical to know what acquire and create and preserve and rehabilitate.
Well, on
I
page,
just don't know what support means in that chart unless you refer them down to as defined on page 30. Maybe I'm overreading it. I don't know.
on page 28, it talks about support.
Well, also on 30.
On 30,
Right,
yeah.
right. Under Goal 5, support housing assistance programs.
I think that chart is from the coalition website.
Right,
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
and, I mean, and support is nicely defined on 30.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So on
Nobody
page,
else? Okay.
so on page 29, what we're doing is essentially keeping everything as is, except that we're putting in under the chart, under the 80% AMI fiscal year '23, and same for under the 100%.
Yep.
Any comments on page 30? On page 31.
And this
32,
should be- Yeah, this should be familiar material. I think this is the profiles that you've reviewed before.
yeah. Mhm. On to historic preservation, page 33. Page 34. I have a couple of comments on page 34 under Goal 2, and I have a question for Paul on this. I thought that we CPA didn't support digitization unless what we were digitizing was something that we had already supported in the past, under the funding.
What do you mean? What's an example?
Well, if we want something to be digitized, I think a couple of years ago, somebody came in wanting something to be digitized, and we said that we couldn't do it because the materials that they wanted to digitize weren't materials that we had provided monies for to preserve to begin with.
Wasn't that the library archives?
No, that was covered. That was,
Do you remember what it
I'm not
was?
I don't
I'm not
remember
sure
what it
what-
was.
Not sure what you mean.
Because we didn't do it. I mean, they came in asking for the monies, and we ended up saying no.
I'm not,
You don't
Yeah.
remember?
I'm not following
Yeah, yeah,
what you're
okay.
saying. You're
So
saying,
it's an allowed use, however, it does need to be, it can't supplant other expenditures that would be funded in a municipal budget, and it can't be like contemporary records, right?
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was one of my questions. And I have under Goal 4, you have, there are privately owned houses owned by households, and that CPAC funds can support those types of programs. It's my understanding we can only do it if the house is open to the public. It's not, if I own my own house, so I have a private home, I can't ask for monies from the CPAC to help with my house.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So I think this is, only, well, go ahead, Paul, if you have.
I'm sorry?
That was a program, potential program that you could, because it would be creating affordable housing. So it would be like a double
It would be historic and
historic with
affordable.
housing. So that would be only, the private property would only be eligible for the historic if it was part of a housing project also.
So it would
To
That was a-
provide housing.
Right, but if someone had a historic home that was in need of repair, they had no funds to do it, but they were willing to somehow convert that into an eligible affordable
Oh, yeah,
housing, they could
I don't
apply
have a
for
problem with that.
Yeah, they could apply for historic funds to fix up the house and.
And provide housing.
And, yeah,
So would that be deed restricted to continue as affordable housing?
yeah, it would
Yes.
have to be, yeah.
Yes, it would have to be.
That's, yeah, you're right, like, just somebody who has an antique home and wants to fix it up, they couldn't qualify. It would have to be part of something else that was, so that's why it says,
So it would be,
where there is an opportunity to create low, moderate income housing.
so it would be a collaborative project that would be part historic and part of community
Housing.
housing.
No,
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that the verbiage under goal 4 makes that clear.
It doesn't, and it doesn't say deed restricted.
Right, right. I think
Because
that,
I'm thinking, somebody living there for 5 years, so okay, it's forgivable loan, and somebody inherits it. And it's
Yeah.
like, these days sells it for millions.
so I think the verbiage in goal number 4 on page 34 needs to be corrected.
Yeah, so that it's emphasized that this is a dual community housing and historic program,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I think,
and it would need to be deed restricted.
Deed restricted.
I think that language comes out of the housing production plan also, which is probably, so it probably needs to be corrected there, but that's where it got clipped from. Because that was a program item in that
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Okay, 30, 33, 34, 35. And this in under eligible activities on page 35, we're back to the third line of under eligible activities. You've got local historic preservation commission.
Well, but that's, there, that's a quotation from the act.
So it's,
So it is what the act says.
should that be capitalized?
If it's capitalized in the act.
Trying to even see where it is.
It's under, on page
here it is. Okay.
35, third line, under
Yeah,
eligible
it's
activities.
Quote, but, okay, I'll double check capitalization in the quote.
Because that's going back to that earlier thing where we're saying it's the historic commission. We're not.
But if we're quoting the act, we have to
yeah,
use the
yeah,
words that the
yeah,
act
whatever the
says.
act says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. page 36. Page 37. Page 38.
37, maybe it's just my math. In the middle of page 37, under 19th century, there were 126 registered historic resources, of which 129 are buildings. It just doesn't, I think, I mean, that could be right if there are multiple
That's a-
buildings per
Yeah, per
registered
location.
resource,
Yeah.
but it just looks kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Does look weird, yes.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Check with Jay.
We're wondering where those extra 3 are.
Right. I like the map on page 38.
It's too small. I was like
I
trying to figure
can
it out.
read it. Well, you live in one of these areas. I think. No.
No.
So
Yeah,
which,
yeah, you
so
do.
should we make all the labels bigger?
Yes,
Oh, I can't
yes,
make it out.
yeah. That would be helpful.
Are there labels? Sorry. They aren't
I
all
think they
labels.
need to be enlarged.
The ones on the bay side don't have labels.
So Great Pond, okay, so there's going on
Town Hall.
6.
Ridge Road Cemetery.
Laura, I think if you just have the map adapted for just like black and white. And,
Or skinny up the bay, don't
right,
have
well,
as much
well,
bay.
like we can get rid of the color.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah, the color.
Water can be white, because ultimately this thing's gonna get photocopied and
Yeah.
passed around, and so
It
we
needs
just
to be
convert it
black
to
and white.
black and white, and then that'll make more contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
probably don't need the parcels. And that'll help the
yes.
readability. Can we just have the streets with the town boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
So the top one on the bay that looks like a key, that's campground? The campground, old
Yeah.
campground area? And then the long skinny one below that, is that Thumpertown?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Lumbertown or Samoset?
That's Kingsbury Beach.
The
the
second
one-
one?
Great Pond, it goes to on the north of Great Pond, that's Kingsbury Beach Road.
Oh, yes, okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
And that's Mass Historic Commission Inventory District.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I know Millennial, used to be where the campground was, but I don't understand where the rest of the road.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I like the map.
Okay. We're on to page 39.
Oh, 39 is the sources.
Yep.
I-
Okay,
Into
we'll move
comment.
on to page 40. Open space, passive recreation. I don't have any comments on either 39 or 40. On page 41. I had a question on the first, actually the second sentence under goal 1. You have roughly 22% of Eastham's total land area is protected open space, and then you say with .69 acres of open space per resident. But the number of residents has changed, and this is what you showed in your last 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm, okay. So this needs to get updated. It may
Updated.
still be the, high open space per capita, but
Yeah,
update
updated.
a ratio.
Okay. Any other comments, folks, on page 41? Oh, excuse me.
Just a quick, the 172 acre town forest is not protected. I don't know if it's not protected land.
Yeah, I don't think we're claiming that this,
Okay,
yeah, we're just listing resources.
okay.
Where's that?
Okay, we're moving on to page 42. Page 43. Page 44. I had a question on page 44, chapter 61, the second dot point. There are 14 private parcels enlisted in chapter 61, 61A, and 61B, totaling 92 acres. I've never heard, I'm not sure I understand what that is.
And that's out of date also. The lands in chapter protection are at the campground at Atlantic Oaks, that's one. That may actually be two parcels, but it's one, owner, the Atlantic Oaks Campground. Then there's one on Massasoit. And then along Higgins Road, that's one. It's divided up a little bit. So the Higgins Road ones, I think is four parcels. Anyway, the numbers are not the same, and it's not 92 acres anymore. So,
We can double check it with the assessing.
yeah, check with Colleen. She's
Chapter 61 land it's a tax designation, so.
Right,
you
it's
have
a
more
temporary-
favorable tax.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it
Because
could be
why?
public or private
Because
land, yeah.
It's land that's been designated for some
For
level of
agricultural
agricultural
stuff or
use.
something like that?
Agriculture,
There's-
forest, or recreation. It says
There's
in-
only, the Massasoit is the only agricultural one. It's about 11 acres, 9 or 11 acres. The campground is for recreation. And then the Higgins Road is the only forestry one, which has to be a minimum of 10 acres. So, and it's more, it's like 28 acres or something when you put the parcels together. But again, Colleen will be able to give you those totals.
Okay. Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah.
Any other comments on page 44? 43, 44. 45. '46. '47. This map is a little better. That one, on page 47, that's a little clearer, but. than the
Yeah,
one
would
we're-
you like this one black and, I mean, I feel like we should be consistent with the maps. Are we converting them all to be black and white, or are we just trying to make like the labels much bigger?
Yeah, I
Or-
think they will read
More
more
copies of
clearly,
A,
yeah, with higher contrast.
black and white, you're saying?
So convert to black and
Yeah.
white, larger labels and no parcels. Okay.
And Sandy Meadow and the trails is not colored in there, and it probably should be, but that's the issue of does it have the legal protections for conservation or not? But it's got trails on it, and so I think Sandy Meadow should also be counted as open space by primary purpose. See, and actually you can see the chapter 61 ones on here, but they should not be colored in, and they aren't.
Page 48, open space by access.
What's that percentage in Eastham?
Of what?
Of what?
Open space?
22?
22% is what I remember
It
hearing.
looks like more.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Well, it's just permanently protected. There's probably a lot more open space than that, but there's 22% that's protected.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to page 49, sources. Oops. Page 50 is active recreation. Page 51 is more active recreation. And I have a comment,
We should-
oh, I'm sorry?
Sorry, could you go up to the photo?
Oh.
This is for active. We should
Active.
probably put a different photo,
Yeah,
because
let's
the
put
rail
one of the
trail,
playgrounds.
One of the playgrounds,
yeah, well,
yeah.
the playgrounds, but also the rail trail is
It's
state.
state.
It's state-owned.
And ineligible for CPA funds.
Yes.
Good catch.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Good
Yeah,
catch.
put the Field of the Field of Dreams out here, right outside the town hall here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Or the playground at Wiley Park. I mean, those are two
Yeah,
options.
Or that, yeah, that's fine.
She needs a picture. Does, Ed, do you have a?
We can send you we'll get you a photo.
On to page 51, and I have a correction, and you've been doing this for all of the categories. Towards the bottom where you have the active recreation 5-year budget, and you have, for each one of them, as we've been going through, the approximate amount available at year end, and you show for this category, you're showing 454, 939, and that is the monies for open space. That's not the ones for recreation. So it should be 276, 327.79%.
276.
276, 327.79. That's as of March 31st.
Okay.
So that would change your total figure.
I'll just double check.
Mary,
that.
that's FY 20, that's in the current, and it's labeled as end of I'm sorry, this is labeled year-end fiscal year 23.
So
Yes.
June 30th, 23.
Yeah.
So it would be June 30th, 23. So it could be that you have a slightly newer number than this, but I'll double check what we have. And I think it is slightly different than open space. I think it's let me just check, 454, 939.
Well, I have the numbers as of March 31st, and all of the numbers that you've shown for the other categories agreed with the numbers that I have.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
So-
no, fair enough. That needs to get updated. All right.
Let me see, so that's page 51. Anything else from anybody on page 51? 52? '53. Another map on 54. '55. Acronyms, 56, key definition, 57, 57, 58.
Maybe on the second one, area median income on 57, add updated information is available annually at HUD.gov, whatever.
Good idea.
Good idea. Anything else from anybody on 57, 58? I'd just like to make a comment that in reviewing this draft, and I compared it to the draft that we put together 5 years ago, and to be honest, I have to say that I found a lot of the verbiage was almost exactly the same as the verbiage that we had in the plan 5 years ago. It's a little, I was a little discouraged to see that, and I just wanted to make a comment about it.
Do you have a recommendation of how, I mean, because I think the verbiage is, you're right, it is very, very similar because there was no real changes in much of the goal, goals and principles and things got updated. But the goals were all the same. The goals remain the same from the last plan.
Yeah, I just want to say, when we looked at the plan before we, put out, announcement to update it, I think we all agreed it was still pretty good. So I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't think it, we needed to get the public forum and, relook at some things and update some numbers, but I think overall it's a pretty good plan before, and I think it is now.
So there were other documents in the packet that were sent out for review. One of them was the qualifying historic projects and the process that you go through to determine whether they're eligible or not.
The flow charts?
Yeah, flow charts, yeah. Did you want to go through? Yeah, there, thank you. So the first one that you have up there is the community preservation, and that's the one, if you're on the right-hand side in the middle, where we're changing the Preservation Commission to the Historic Commission. Did anybody have any other comments on the flow charts? There are four of them here for the four categories.
I thought they were pretty nifty.
Let's see, we also had in the
I have-
packet.
Wait a minute, I have one
Oh,
comment.
sure, go ahead.
On the housing one, it should say qualifying community housing projects. That's the title of the area, is community housing.
You want, at the top, you want qualifying community housing project.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
please.
yeah. Anything else from folks on the flow charts? Let's see, another document had the application and the narrative of the scoring, excellent, good, fair, poor, et cetera. I looked it over. Does anybody have any comments on that?
I have a comment on on mine, it's on page 2. The part 3, I think it is, the requirements.
I'm sorry, I'm not, what page you're on? I mean, what,
It's the first page.
of what document?
I'm looking at the criteria.
Oh, of this?
Yeah.
Oh,
that.
okay, I'm sorry. I thought-
And it's it's the very first of the second page, which is the section that talks about requirements. I don't know, mine printed out differently than yours did, Mary, so,
No, it's okay.
yeah. But I guess my question is, if somebody does not submit a completed application, is that an automatic disqualification? I mean, if we never get a completed application, and if we deem that the applicant isn't able to meet the requirements of whatever the requirements are for their particular part of the program, I don't think we score them, high, medium, low. I think they're disqualified. So I don't think there's a score there. It's either yes or no.
Haven't folks had an opportunity to bring in pieces that we're missing?
Yes, but
Yeah,
at
so
the end,
this is
at the very
after.
end of the
Okay,
process,
yeah.
when we're finally making the final determinations.
And they don't, yeah,
And they
okay.
haven't submitted everything, I think we say no. And if there's something that calls into question whether or not they can meet the requirements of the program, I think we say no.
There's probably extenuating circumstances, like they need reports from geological surveys or something, and everybody's backed up because they're not available.
Well, didn't that kind of happened this year too?
Yeah.
Didn't open space on the trails at Sandy Meadow? They never really came up with a final figure because they couldn't get anybody to bid on it, and we
Yeah.
approved it though.
Right, but at that point, we say your application's as complete as it's going to be. So we say it's complete. Okay, and I agree with that. We may make a decision that says we're willing to accept an estimate, or we're willing to accept
What
such and
you've
such.
provided us.
But if we, as the committee, say, your application's not complete, and we don't think it's complete, then I don't think we should approve it.
Again, well, yeah, I'd almost add an asterisk barring extenuating circumstances, or something, because you don't want to take some, a future group say, well, it says no, so we can't do it. I don't know. There's flexibility, and people, I think, will continue on this committee. I need to go to bed.
Welcome to my club. I agree with the flexibility part, but, so that maybe that needs to be somehow in the language, but at the end of the process, I think applicants do need to know at the end of the process, if we say there's additional information that's needed and they haven't provided it, we're
And
going
they
to say.
can't, well,
And they,
and it's not possible
And
for them to, well, it's not something that's extenuating.
that's our decision. If we say we're not willing, we're not accepting the extenuating
Circumstances?
reason, we can accept that. So then we're not saying it's not complete. It's like a double negative. I don't know. But when we get to February and we're doing a final approval, it's either we say the information is complete enough, and so it's complete.
We accept what we have and say,
accept what we
and
have,
say
and
it's,
okay.
from our perspective, it's complete, and so we'll proceed.
Right.
If we don't, we as a committee don't feel that it's complete for our purposes, then we can say no.
I mean, I can be okay either way, but I just think,
So I guess what would you like to have?
well, I think on section 3 requirements,
Yeah,
there isn't a score. It's either yes or no.
I'm still not sure. I've got so many different
They
things
don't
here.
have a thing, we get 0.
What, Paul?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I made the notes.
Score.
I think I can just say yes or no, and then perhaps even have a description in the rubric.
That would be
Which-
fine. Yeah. And then the criteria scores, where there's a weight,
A rating, yeah. Yeah,
no, I'm still on the same page I was on
oh,
before.
you're on this page.
Still back on whatever.
Okay,
page.
I'm over here.
Yeah. There's a weight, so 60% aligning with CP, so section 1 is 60%, section 2 is 20%, and section 3 is 20%.
That's hard to
I
read.
can't even read that.
That's difficult to read.
I can't even read it here.
Yeah, I know the formatting, this is still the red line version, so the formatting is not in its final state right now. And it's also, not, this is sort of a first, first idea. You don't have to do weighted scores if you don't want to.
I would suggest the first year we use this for sure, that we don't use a weighted score, I think that puts a lot of statistical, it imposes statistical validity that we're not yet comfortable with. Because the first time we go through and do the scoring is going to be a learning experience. And so we may get to that at some point, and we may do that each year as we go through the process, but I wouldn't put any weights in there for the first year of using this.
So I would take this off.
Yeah, I think it implies a validity that we're not sophisticated enough yet to have.
Yeah, I think the only advantage to that is being able to, like you said, I mean, the purpose of a weighted score is kind of not have necessarily your how detailed your timeline is, be at the same level of importance as being one of your lead priorities. It does let you put a little more emphasis on the fact that, like, is it supporting your goals a little more than having they crossed their Ts and dotted their Is.
Right, I agree with that in principle. I'm just saying, I think having actual numbers there may be premature.
Or you could
Fair.
put, include it and then say to be used when preferred, or, just,
Or
your
just
choice.
have it there, but we do, each year we fill it out and decide what we want to do.
Okay.
Because, I mean,
I'll just say optional.
yeah, I think optional is good. Because when you use something like this, and you have, it's really good to do because it makes us mentally really think through what we're doing and try to have some consistency across projects and across us as committee members. But it has a downside that it implies a consistency and validity that, is a learning experience for us. So I think we just need to be cautious about, this may be a draft for the first year that we consider, as opposed to saying we've adopted it.
Yep, this is really meant to be an internal tool for you. So
Yeah.
certainly, use what you want, lose what you don't want, adapt it to best fit what works
Right.
for you.
But if even as an internal committee tool, it's open to the public, and if we get to the point where we have competing projects and not enough money to fund everything, and we start using a tool like this, that starts to make us open for criticism for how we might be making our decisions, because again, it applies, we're being much more precise than maybe we are at first. I think we'll get there, but I'm not sure it's the first year. But anyway, but I like the idea of having the tool a lot, and the way you've laid it out.
All right. So most of the appendix document is the engagement results. So I won't, go through all of those because you've seen them before. And I also thought it was probably helpful to have it live in an appendix as opposed to in the main document, because the main document's already almost 60 pages.
I agree with you on that.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's all the things for tonight. I think you probably noticed me marking up the documents with comments as we went, so I have all of those recorded, and I'll also follow up with a meeting, summary of just action items for myself, and then follow up with my team. But, if there's other things that you come up with in the next week, I would say please pass them along to Stacy. Oh, you know what? Let me get back to my presentation real quick, because I I think we covered everything, but the only thing left to cover is the project schedule and next steps. And then I think we can wrap this up because, also because I have a meeting in 10 minutes.
And I have another thing that we talked about at our last meeting, and we talked about engagement with the, did I call it public engagement? I put together a statement regarding how I felt that we should be involved with outside, getting information out to people about what we do here. And I was wondering whether you thought where that should be included in this plan,
Yes, I did include it in a couple of places.
because I didn't
if
see it. I'm blind.
Oh, I tried to point it out when we were going through, I think it was in the executive summary under guiding principles. I think there was another spot also where I called out some language in a quote, trying to emphasize the ongoing community engagement one. But yes, I will, I mean, I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure we included your language or a version of your language.
Yeah, probably not my language, because I'm not very good at all that, but you know what we're talking about, so I
Yes,
appreciate
I
that.
do know, I remember that, yes.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
Yes, and really, the only thing, we're revising everything based on your comments, and we'll get that, first we'll check in with Stacy and Paul, and then, get you all the revised materials. But in the meantime, I think we're also looking at, just looking at your application form, and probably not a whole lot to change there, other than just refreshing it so it all kind of matches the same look and feel as the rest of the document, unless you have any recommended changes you'd like to make to the form. Yeah, the calendar and the process diagram, we have those flow charts. We have the kind of calendar, infographic calendar, the schedule anyway, and the plan. But we had talked with Paul and Stacy about trying to do something a little bit more on eligibility, because to try to make that a little clearer of, the different categories and what those matrices mean in some sort of brief format that would be useful to applicants. And so, yeah, so that's really it. If you can get everything to Stacy in about a week, and then if she can just send any other comments that come to your mind on the materials you received by May 8th for incorporation of the final draft, we can certainly get started on all the comments that you said tonight. But just, in case there's something else that pops up that you're like, oh, I forgot to mention this, happy to incorporate that. And that's it for me.
Okay, any other questions from anybody? Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
thanks a lot. Okay, I'm back to the agenda here. And we have the meeting minutes from April 3rd. And thank you, Stacy, for putting them together. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of April 3rd? And I'm looking to see, I think we were all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, Dave wasn't here. He's not here now. And Eileen, you weren't here. So there are 2 of us that weren't here. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2024?
So moved.
Carolyn?
Second.
Carolyn and Ed? Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes of April 3rd, 2024? 1, 2, 3, Janet 4, Dan 5, Joanna 6, Eileen wasn't here, 7, and we're missing 2 people, so that's 7-0. Thank you again, Stacy, for doing the minutes for us. And then we have item number 4, most recent financial reports, and it's my understanding the Wiley Park report has been completed, not completed, but that's true too, but received. so,
I just got Ed to sign it, so I'll send it over to Tina.
okay, so what, can you tell us what the, are they giving us, I mean, I can look at the thing here to see if there was money left over, I don't know.
Yeah, the return is $20,250.99.
$20,250.99.
$250, correct.
99 cents, okay. All righty, so,
Well done, Ed.
yeah.
Nice playground.
We're glad to see you here, and you haven't taken the money and gone to Hawaii or something.
No. But just when we think everything's done, other issues come up.
Yeah, like something in particular, or
Yeah, like a fence behind, around the playground. if
out
you're-
here? What happened?
On Facebook, or the community, Facebook
East Ham
page.
Community Page.
A couple of the, or one woman in particular raised an issue, she doesn't think it's safe to,
What would make it unsafe?
well, and she just thinks that, because of the parking lot and thing, that the child could run out and,
There's not a fence all the way around the Field of Dreams.
Oh, yeah, I know that, yeah.
And she has, I mean, she has a legitimate concern, there's no doubt about it, but, I believe she contacted Paul, and Paul had told her, and he can attest to this, that there was a lot of discussion about fencing when we did that, and extensive, and, actually just went out there tonight and kind of took a fast look. It'd be problematic to fence the playground in, but if people don't feel that their children are safe there, then we'll fence it in. And in last night's Recreation Commission, we directed Christine to go out and get some bids for fencing on it, so we kind of know what we're talking about. Again, the way we had situated that playground and encased it in cement, it's gonna be problematic, because if we fence it in, I noticed tonight, and I didn't even think about it, but if we fence the total playground in, then we lose access to the fence that we put in case we have to bring a truck in or something to the pickleball courts. And the people on the pickleball courts have to walk all the way around now to get to the
To get in.
gate. So, I mean, there are issues, but, I mean, we'll continue to work with the public, and we'll see what their opinion is. Some of our thoughts were, just because everything that's going around Town Hall now with the construction and all the vehicles out there and everything, it's congested and it looks overwhelming. The playground's been there for 5 years, this is the first time this has come up.
I was just going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time this issue has come up. You know, if we could come to, some sort of an agreement on, to make it safer and make people feel better about it, then, hopefully, I mean, I don't know if we have to, dependent upon quotes, there's still gonna be about $19,000 left in that contract. We're waiting for one more invoice. I mean, if it came in under 19,000, now, one of the women says, was a grandmother, and she posted that her grandchildren are gonna be up there this summer, can we have it done by this summer?
No. Short answer.
I can't get my house,
Yeah,
painted or anything by this summer, or landscaped,
can't get an electrician by this summer.
Yeah, and if, like I say, if the figure comes in over, what we might have available, then we're just gonna have to wait and apply for another grant. But I mean, it's an issue that we're aware of, that we'll be dealing with, and hopefully we come to some resolve.
Because I'm just looking at Tina's most recent report, and there is, under the Field of Dreams project back to fiscal year 19, there is not quite 23,000 in that.
But there's an invoice still outstanding.
waiting for-
There's gonna be like a $3,000 invoice that's still outstanding, so when that comes in, then we'll have a final figure from Tina, and if we get some bids, we can figure out how we move ahead. Again, I think that we're trying to fast track this because we think, it'll be an issue with the town, I mean, with the select board, you know, with Jackie, and maybe if they perceive this as,
As
you
a
know,
necessity.
as a safety issue, then we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna have to move forward pretty rapidly, and, I mean, if that's the case, and we don't have the funds, and we can't, you know, we have to wait to come to CPC, then the town will have to figure out how they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, the town hall should be, maybe you have a better understanding of when you think that might be finished with all, as Ed says, there's a bunch of stuff out here between trash and.
Yeah,
and
you know, all the, you know, all the storage units and
storage and
stuff.
the
Once it clears out,
modular,
you know, it becomes a little more open, and I think people will feel a little more comfortable.
It's supposed to be done by Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. So that might be helpful.
Yeah, it might be, I mean, you know, again, I understand the concern. She has a child that was in T-ball, and she has a younger one, so while she's here
She's here
watching the
with-
T-ball one.
she's
the
with the
younger
younger
wants
one,
to go to the
yeah.
playground,
Yeah.
and she doesn't feel comfortable, you know, it's
Yeah,
understandable.
I mean, I took my grandkids there a lot when they were younger. They're not that age anymore, but it's not the place where you go and just leave your kid to be
No,
there by
yeah.
themselves. And, I mean, that's just sort of intuitive that someone has to be there watching them. And if you go
Well,
to.
they have to get there somehow, they're not walking.
Well, there are
so-
some parks where, not in Eastham, I think, where it is, oh, no, there is, at the school, actually, there's a part of the school playground.
Elementary school.
Elementary school playground that's designed with a fence around it so that the child can be inside the fenced-in area and running around and doing whatever they do, and you can look away for a minute because it's
Oh,
fenced
and
in.
Wiley Park, too. I mean.
And Wiley Park, too, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean.
This
the
is not
playgrounds-
designed that way.
The playgrounds are kind of designed differently. I mean, this
Right.
one is for older children,
It is.
where the Wiley Park one is for younger children, and
And it's completely enclosed, yeah.
Right, because this one isn't really designed for little tiny toddlers. The equipment itself is not specific for that. So, yeah, I think it's a great approach, Ed.
But as Ed says, many families have more than one child, so they come with all their children, and some of the children are older, and you would say that playground is perfect for them, but then they have another child that they have to bring because they have two or more children, and.
Yeah, I think it's a great approach.
Are there any, we need to vote on approving the Wiley Park final report. Do I have a motion to approve the final report from Wiley Park for return of $20,250.99, which will go to the appropriate category from which it came?
So move.
Ed and Eileen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 0. Okay. And let's see, is there anything else? Oh, our taxes were due today. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it. So we should be getting the 3% surcharge once they're
It's coming.
processed.
And it's going to go up,
Yeah.
depending on how many properties get sold.
I know, yeah. So that will increase the amount of monies that are in our tax collection. Okay, any other questions, comments, issues, discussions, whatever you want to call them?
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, Carolyn has made a motion to adjourn. I will second that. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0.